Hi there, my name is Hannah and I have spent the past 4 weeks here in Xizhou, and I have been learning about really one thing, that is education Xizhou style. I have been learning about perspectives on education and the education system here because education is one of my passions and I really love learning. So I decided to pinpoint one thing, and that was the ideal school life in Xizhou. I talked to parents and students and teachers just to get a general idea of what they think about it. And so I learned about what happens inside of schools, what happens outside of schools, and also the parental views and the changes that have been made to education and the changes that should be made to education here in Xizhou. The first part I'm going to talk about is what happens inside the schools of Xizhou. There are many things that have changed over the years, and I would like to pinpoint a few of the good changes that have happened, such as new break times. There are break times in between classes to let children rest, and also recess times that will help them relax and get some of their energy out. There are new choices at recess times. There is ping pong, basketball, jump rope, soccer, tennis, all of these new things. About 30 years ago, there were only jump rope and kids could only sit around and talk, and really they didn't have a lot of choices, so that's really benefited them. Now you only have to pay for books and clothes. 30 years ago, you had to pay an 80 RMB tuition for each semester. These days, it doesn't sound like a lot, but most children came from farming families, and that was a lot of money that they needed to earn. The schools are bigger and better. The schools have grown a lot bigger in their facilities and the classes and the way that they teach. They have grown in such mental ways and also very, very physical ways because the classrooms are a lot bigger. But one of the really bad things is big classes. Big classes take away from children's learning time and the ability to communicate with the teacher. Sometimes a student might be very high up in their education level and they might be very, very smart for their age, but the teacher won't notice that because they're just trying to get their job done by teaching the class. Or there might be somebody a little bit below the range. They might struggle a bit, but the teacher really can't take notice in that because they don't communicate with the students, and that's something really important. There's not a lot of communication that happens inside of the schools between the students and the teachers and the administrators and the teachers and the students and all of these different combinations. Over here in this corner, we have two things that we need to change inside the schools: classroom communication levels and the size of the classrooms. School day ends at 4:30. This is a really long school day, but they do have many breaks, and it's more of a daycare than a kindergarten, but they are learning a lot of things. The ages that go to this kindergarten are 3 to 6-year-olds. When I visited this, they were currently having their play session, and that was really interesting to watch. They all really loved playing around and horsing around and running around, but the teachers really had a tough time controlling that. There were probably about 70 kids at that center, and there were only 5 teachers that could control them, and I think that's a little too much. The classroom sizes, there are about 20 kids in a classroom, and that is a huge amount of children, especially for one teacher to handle. So one of the things that we need to change inside of schools, like kindergartens, is also the class size. Okay. Now we're going to move on to a junior high schedule. I didn't get a chance to visit a junior high, but I was talking to some junior high students, and they told me a basic outlay of what they do in the day. One of the things that should change about the junior high schedule and the high school schedule is lunchtime. They have a 2-hour break for lunch where they can go home and relax a little bit, but I think that's just too much time. 2 hours is definitely enough time to eat, and they give that time to study, but I think that they should give them 1 hour to get home and eat some lunch. and then they come back to school for another hour to have some flex time. If you don't know what flex time is, it's a time that students can study and get help from the teachers if they need it. They should erase this extra hour and make it into a 1-hour lunch. By doing that, they give the students a chance to communicate with the teacher and also give the students a chance to really focus on their work, and they won't need to run back to the school to ask for help for the teacher. Happens outside of schools that is still related to schools, like not your social life, but the amount of homework that you get and stress. Homework and stress are such a big component of the actual school life. Fifth grade was about an hour and 15 minutes. When I was in fifth grade, I was getting about 45 minutes, and when I was in first grade, I got about 10 minutes of homework every night. So you can see how it really varies compared to an international school and a local school. One of the things that can reduce stress is adding a homework limit. The teachers and the students must communicate with each other to know when the student is stressed and when there needs to be less homework. There needs to be communication in this process as well. The thing teachers, parents, and students could do is keep everybody on the same page by having frequent conferences with the teacher and making sure that you keep talking to your child about school. Communication. Stress levels is 补习班. It is an after-school and weekend class that offers extra help for students that need it or want it or haven't finished their homework on time. When I talked to the parents, they had many things to share, but their top 3 concerns are how much stress there is, how there's not enough family time, and how there's a bit too much homework. The parents say that there's not a lot of communication between the teachers and them. Communication. The parents also say that grades are really important, but they're not the only thing that matters. They really want their child to live a full and happy life and have school be a good memory and not a bad one. As long as their child does his or her best, it is okay. Now, we're going to lead back to my main question. What is one thing we should change to make the ideal school here in Xizhou? The perfect school life for a child here in Xizhou is one with communication. This will benefit everybody. They need communication so that they can get the best out of their education. I took into account parental views, things that go on in and outside of school to come to this conclusion. Here in Xizhou, there is not a lot of communication between the parents, the teachers, the students, the administrators, whatever you want to call it. There are other things that can change about the schools, like how big they are and how many kids in a class. But if the students and parents and teachers learn to communicate with each other, then there's less stress overall and there's more fun inside of the schools. There's more free time and there's also more knowledge of what is going on inside of the students' minds. Adding communication to a life in Xizhou will benefit everybody.